Hey there, Eliza Ben Shalom. I am a Jewish matchmaker, best known for being on Netflix Jewish Matchmaking. And I'm here at Zeem Studios in New York City, which is very exciting. This is the first time that we're recording here, and I hope it is one of many times. And we're here to talk about love, dating, relationships, marriage, and how to build a love that lasts. Because only 2% of marriages last over 60 years, about 6% of marriages last over 50, and everything else, 50% don't even make it. So we want to change those statistics and change the world. And I'm here with our guests today, Ilana and Jake. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. I'm doing quick math in my head thinking like, okay, did we get married at an age where we can make it 60 more years?
That's it. You have to do the math. You have to do the math. So I learned that they just got married 6 months and 1 week ago.
Yes.
Okay, so we're celebrating your 6-month anniversary here. Woohoo! All right. In the beginning, you have to count all of the months. Then we count the years, and then like at the end, you start you go back to counting months. And it'll be like, my mother-in-law's like, it's 62 and a half years, right? Like you start counting the half years again. So it's really exciting. How did you guys meet?
We met on Hinge, as I say, the old-fashioned way. But the cool part about our story is we had matched previously on Hinge and never talked.
You matched, said yes, but didn't talk?
We never spoke.
Okay. And whose fault was that? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think either. I don't think either of us started a conversation with each other. Sometimes you match and just don't say anything, I feel like.
Yeah, and when we matched in January of 2021. I did the whole stalk him and find our mutual friends. And I messaged one of our mutual friends, Helena, and I was like, Helena, what's this guy's deal? And she goes, Alana, scroll up in our texts. And in October of 2020, I texted Helena, what's this guy's deal? We matched a few months ago. Neither of us ever spoke. I'm scrolling through my old matches. Wow. He's super cute. And she was like, he's amazing. Told me all these great stories about him and told me to message him, and I never did. Don't know why. But we both agree, had we met and actually talked and gone out earlier, it wouldn't have worked.
Why?
We just weren't ready. We had other things going on in our lives, like work stuff, just life stuff, and it wasn't the right time.
So you finally met.
Yes.
And was it like a spark or a slow grow?
Jake.
Yeah, I mean, Alana definitely talks about this all the time. It definitely wasn't a spark. I think our first date was February 21, and it was freezing cold.
What date? What was the date?
February 8th.
Proud of you.
21, yeah. And it was freezing cold. We were sitting outside in New York City because it was all the COVID rules still going on. And it was just a tough date to be outside in 20 degrees weather eating dinner.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it definitely was one of those I used to leave all of these dates thinking oh my God, I'm gonna die if I don't see this person again. And with Jake, I was like, it was fine. It wasn't bad by any means, but
Thanks.
It wasn't bad, but I wasn't I need to marry this man. And in the past, that's how I always felt. My friends and I had this ongoing joke about how I would come home from every date saying oh my God, I'm in love. And this was different, where I was like, this is somebody that we have some things in common. We had a lot to talk about, but it was fine.
But you weren't in love. This was the first time.
Yet.
It wasn't. You weren't in love. Sorry,
yes.
I have a little bit of a coughing spell.
You're doing great.
So you weren't in love.
Wasn't in love yet.
You weren't in love.
No.
So who was fueling? How did the relationship grow?
I do think I was trying. We were both trying, right? We were talking, keeping it going. Again, it was COVID, so we had our first date, then we had a second date.
A week
later. And then she was going to Florida for a month to visit her family. And I think just during that time, I was like, let's just keep talking and see what happens. And you don't have to we weren't texting every second of every day, trying to keep the conversation going in that way, but enough to make sure that we would see each other when we came back. I remember saying that I wasn't going to, I was like, that was the last time I saw her. She's not going to come back. Or if she comes back, we're just not going to talk. 'Cause it usually fades out in that month or so. And then she came back to get a COVID shot, and she had texted me being like, hey, I'm back in town for the weekend. Do you want to do something? And I think from there it started to snowball.
Yeah, I came back a lot sooner than expected. I got off of a wait list to get a vaccine, and I was like, I'm not missing this opportunity. So I told him, I was like, I'm back for 48 hours, and I'm going back to Florida. And he was supposed to work that day, and he was like, let me see if I can get someone to cover my work for the day. And he ended up doing that, and he planned for us to go to brunch. And this is the morning after my first COVID vaccine. I woke up feeling sicker than I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah, knowing Ilana now, she is always sick.
I prepared you properly, our third date.
And I would say, I can't believe you made it out the day after your COVID shot.
And that you were willing to see her.
Yeah, probably too.
But I remember that morning I like wrapped my arm in like a t-shirt sling because I like anytime it moved a millimeter, I was in so much pain, and like he had to like help me put on my jacket and like cut my food for me. And
very romantic.
Well, we ended up after brunch, we like walked around, we went to this old bar in the neighborhood we had both previously lived in at the same time. We didn't know each other at the time. And after that, we ended up, we like got a cab home, and I was gonna go home. We were going our separate ways, and I was like, I'm gonna go sit on my couch and watch One Tree Hill for the next 4 hours. You're welcome to join. And we had talked about how we both loved that show. And he came over, I think I like changed into sweatpants. We just laid on the couch watching the show for like hours on end. And I realized at the end of that day, I was like, on a day where I felt absolutely horrible, was able to have so much fun and also chill and be myself. And that was really, really big. And that was definitely a turning point in our early stages, where from there I was like, I think we both after that day were like, this is going
I was going to say, was that for you as well? Was that like the moment?
Yeah, I think so. We started having like really fun dates after that. Like we've always done date card days where we just like plan a whole date around it.
Think like The Bachelor, they get a date card. It says like something kind of mysterious about what they're going to do that day.
Yeah.
You gave it to each other?
We started doing that,
Yeah. I think, what was our 6th date or something like that? We had a really good one. She came over. We did like brunch. We made like waffles at my apartment, like drank mimosas. We went to the Central Park Zoo. We went to the little zoo first, right? I thought it was like the real zoo at Central
Park. I did
a
children's zoo first, and he was like, oh, that was really fun. Was that it? I'm like, what? That was the children's zoo.
Then we went to the real Central Park Zoo. And then we went to like a speakeasy bar and like had Prince Street Pizza.
We did marathon dates.
Yeah. It was a whole long day of like drinking and fun and just, We still do date card days too.
You do?
Yeah.
How often?
Like a few times a year.
Yeah.
And you take turns, like you go back and forth.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like when my kids are like, "Can we have a yes day?" Right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like a yes date. Like you're going to agree to whatever's on this card. Here you go. Let's go.
Yeah.
So one person knows, and the other person's in for a surprise.
Yeah.
Yes.
My husband and I did a mystery date once. So we got in the car, and I didn't tell him where we're going. I said he like leaned back. He put his kippah over his eyes, and he's like, "Okay, I'll just I'll wait till we get there."
Yeah.
And he was kind of like guessing because he was just like from how we're turning and where we're going, what we're doing, and we ended up playing billiards, which like I've never taken him to do that. I will never do it again because he's really good, and clearly I am not. And it was very boring. Like he breaks and he takes like almost all the shots, and then he misses one finally, and I was like, oh okay. Then I miss, and then he like finishes the game.
Classic.
But it was impressive.
Yeah.
And the other mystery date, I actually took him to my in-laws to see his parents, and we had like a double date with his parents.
That's cool.
No kids, which, after you have a bunch of kids, it was like so nice. They're like, so what do we talk about without kids? Like we had to like reinvent the conversation, which was really incredible.
That's funny.
Anyway, so we call it like a mystery date, but I like the date card where it's like a full day and you're like, putting all the details down of like where you want, and then you get what you want with your partner. I think it's a gorgeous idea.
Yeah, I find that it encourages us to do things we wouldn't normally do, or to like, plan something that maybe is a little more expensive and we'd be saving for a special occasion. Like, and these kind of do end up being special occasions. Like I know for me at least, like when he's like, what do you want for your birthday? My answer is a date card day. I don't need
It's usually
a
like August
thing.
and December,
Yeah.
honestly.
It's an experience.
Yeah,
You want
I
an
don't need a
experience.
thing. I want the experience and like
I
that
love that.
special moment.
That time.
Yeah.
Well, because of the experience is the time together, and that
Yeah.
gives you the bonding, which is exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
I know Alana's dream, and I haven't done it yet, and eventually we'll do this.
Really?
Is yeah.
It better be what I'm thinking.
What am I gonna say?
Going to the airport?
Yeah.
Yes. I want to go to the
One
airport
day.
and not know where I'm going.
One day, like a surprise trip. Logistically seems like a nightmare, but
Well, no, it's only a surprise for her, not you.
Well, I
I
think it'd
know,
be cool.
with the planning of it
I think it'd be
all.
cool if we both went not knowing where we're going.
How do you do that?
You
I'll
just-
plan it. I'll
you-
plan it.
You pack us. You pack
she
us.
just
in
wants to
place.
buy the next flight.
Oh, you just get there and buy the next flight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanna
She just
do
wants to
that.
go and be
48
like,
hours. You
at
pack a
10:40,
suitcase
there's
with some summer stuff, some
Yeah.
winter stuff. You don't know what you're gonna get, and you just go.
I'm so in.
I don't care if we go to like the middle of nowhere, Arkansas. Like that's so cool. When else are you gonna do that?
you may.
love
We're gonna
it.
get there and be like, now what? We just
Only
left, we
one
just
way
left
to find
Barkley for
out.
like 4 days.
No, I love it. That's like the spontaneous travel day where you don't know where you're going to end up and you don't know what's going to happen. And there is no card exactly. It's just like mystery day.
Yeah.
I love it.
The date card can say pack your bag.
So
We'll
you have to
report
make a whole bunch of date cards and then you just randomly pull out the next one and then you'll know when the next mystery
You did that
was.
for your
Yeah, for my bridal shower, people love to do like little bridal shower activities, like give the couple advice or like give them a recipe. I had everyone write us date cards.
That's so
We haven't done
sweet.
it yet though.
Yeah.
We have this bowl of like envelopes that are sealed and they all have a different date that someone else planned for us. We need to do that.
Yeah. I have a feeling you're gonna like open the first one and be like, we don't want to do that.
No, I did peek at a few of them and they're good. But
I'm
like
sure.
we have to commit to like, okay, today we're going to open one and we are
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
do what it says.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, maybe that's our date.
I feel like this is how you keep the mystery alive. You're married 6 months and you already figured out how to keep the mystery going. And people who are married for years really like have no idea how to do it. You guys, it's very clear that you have a chemistry together and a lot of fun together, which I think is probably one of the secrets. What do you think is one of the secrets to your connection?
I think it's really just like, I know it sounds cheesy, but like he is my best friend. Like I feel like no matter where I am, if I'm not with him, like I just want to be home with him. Like even when we're away on vacation, we're like, all right, like we're ready to just go like sit on the couch together. Like just being together is what makes us happy.
Yeah, I think we have like a lot of similar traits, like lifestyles, like how we just like do life is very similar. And I think that leads into all of that. Like even our date card days, some days we'll get to this point where like, yeah, I think you were like, should we not do this? We could do this instead. And we're like, yeah, sure, whatever. Whatever. Like that's the whole point of the day, right? To make it
Fun.
just fun and whatever we want to do.
Yeah,
essentially.
we definitely really get each other.
Yeah.
So how do we help people? Because there's a lot of singles, and that's my specialty is working with singles who do not like to date a friend or like have somebody who's too much of a friend. Like they're afraid that the friendship then won't be like what my girlfriend would describe as like your best friend who you also get to go home and sleep with. You know, like that's her description. She's like, it's the best thing in the world. And people are like, no, like they're like afraid of that. I don't know if they don't know how to balance it or they're afraid to like ruin a friendship. But like, how would you advise people who are dating and thinking like, well, should I approach a friend or should I try to turn a friend or a best friend into a relationship?
That's hard when it's someone who starts as a friend because yeah, you do run the risk of losing the friendship.
Right.
But if you're wondering, like if you're curious about it, if this is something that's been on your mind for a while, it's not going to go away. Like the only way to figure this out is to explore it. And I think it's worth exploring it. I think you could kind of dip your toes and see if there's mutual interest by saying like, I had a dream last night that like we were dating, like, isn't that crazy? And see how they respond to it.
That's a really good line. That's a really good line because it's nothing. I'm not saying it. And if you respond like, oh, that's cool, I'd be open to it, right? Then you can lean into it. And if they're like, never, no way, you're like, yeah, I know, right? You can literally follow their lead, but you give them an opening.
Exactly. Or I have a friend who, she asked me for advice recently. She has a friend, they go on walks together every week, they hang out with her dog, but they've never done anything beyond that. Their conversations are continuing to get deeper and deeper. And she's like, I think there's something here. How do I explore it? And I said, well, you know, maybe on your next walk, why don't you say, oh, I've been dying to check out this bar nearby. Like, do you want to end our walk there? And kind of transition from that routine walk that you're doing into something a little more datey and see what the vibe is when you get there.
And I like that it's a bar because everybody needs a little alcohol to loosen up
Like a coffee
and take
shop,
the edge off.
A coffee shop would be the same thing as the walk. Like
Correct.
you need to,
Correct.
you know, kind of break that barrier and put yourselves in a different environment.
Yeah. Perfect. Gorgeous advice. You're good at this.
Thank you. It's like I do this for a living or something.
So tell us about yourself, like what you do for a living,
Yes.
and lean in a little.
Yes. So I host the Dating and Relationships podcast, Seeing Other People. I'm a dating coach. I got into this field super kind of accidentally. My dating life was a complete dumpster fire. I ended up getting this job at Hinge. I was the face of Hinge on social media, their video and content producer, and I started creating content for them about helping people on the app, helping people date better, helping people have a better experience just in their dating lives on the apps. And I started opening up about my personal dating life, and not necessarily like, oh, I went on a date with this jerk and this is what he said, but like, hey, this is really freaking hard and this is how it's impacting me. And I realized like that's what resonated and that's what helped people the most, is showing that it's not all fun and games. It's not all date card days and going to the airport for that spontaneous trip. It's really hard. And you have to put yourself out there in a really vulnerable position to find love. And that often does lead to heartbreak. And so the more I started opening up about my experiences and the more I realized like that was the way to really help people, I really hit the ground running with that. And I ended up getting laid off in 2020. And I had this moment of, I know exactly what I love to do and what I'm meant to do, and I'm going to go do it on my own.
That's incredible. And your podcast has taken off, and you have your own social media channels, and you're like out there, and people are really gravitating towards you and love this.
I love it. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else.
I know. I feel the same way.
Like it's so cool. It's so cool.
Sorry, Jake. This is our moment.
It's okay. I would say it's one of the things that probably attracted me to Ilana when we first started dating too, is like we talked about dating and relationships and the podcast and the advice she would give. I was very into another like dating podcast. And she had him on.
Jared Fried.
Like again, within our first 10 dates, she had him on the podcast. I was like, oh, this is a person I listened to for dating advice like for the last 4 years, or really a lot longer than that. But it was cool to have those conversations. So I think it really helped our relationship too.
Yeah, and it was interesting because we matched on Hinge. It was actually 2 months after I lost my job there. But we matched in January, and in February we went out on our first date. I started the podcast in January, so it was so new. I'm out there telling him like, yeah, I don't really have a job. I'm kind of trying to like make this work. I'm going to freelance. And like a lot of people would judge somebody for that negatively.
Right.
But he super embraced it and was really invested and interested and listened to every episode and asked all the questions. And that meant so much to me.
Yeah, it sounds like the supportive nature of the relationship is something that really keeps you together. And then the fun part is something that brings out all of the joy that's between you. And like, it's like a little electrifying.
Yeah.
It's cute. You guys are just delicious. Okay, so you told me a little bit about the dating story, the journey. So how did you get from dating to like, okay, we're going to make this a thing? Because I think a lot of people get stuck in the, it's dating, it's good, but like, are you the one? And you're the one, but like, do I have to take action now? Like, why should we bother getting married now? Like, we can wait. We can just keep dating. Like, take me through the rest of your story.
Jake?
Sure. I feel I know exactly what you're going to say with this.
That's why I'm trying to let you talk.
So I think on that, was on the 6th date, right? And we were at the Central Park Zoo. And at the end of the zoo, I was like, I'm not seeing other people, just FYI, whatever. And she,
I'm sorry. You just referenced the podcast. Seeing other people. Okay, got it. Keep
I
going.
will say it happens in like every single TV show we watch. I'm just like, there it is. There it is.
and she said same. So at that point, we were kind of exclusive, I guess.
Which, hold on. In my mind, I'm like, okay, like 6 dates, like maybe a little early, but like, okay, like I'm totally on board with this.
He's like, he has an epiphany. I'm not seeing other people. You're not. So I guess we're together. And she's like, slow down, boy.
It's also been a couple of months.
It was like a month and a half, but I was like, okay, like, sure, totally on board. And then the next month unfolds. And I'm like, okay, this guy like was really excited to ask me to be exclusive. Now he's like not asking me to be his girlfriend. We're hanging out a few times a week now. Like, what's going on? Are we just
Wait, what is exclusive versus boyfriend
Yeah,
girlfriend?
exactly.
Yeah, okay, exactly.
Like you thought exclusive
yeah.
means boyfriend
Right.
girlfriend.
So, so one
This is
morning,
where I knew she was going with this story.
one morning, I turned to him and I go, "Are you going to ask me to be your girlfriend already, or what?" And he goes, "Oh, I thought you were my girlfriend."
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what it is when you're exclusive, right?
So this is the nuance of dating, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Communication.
Everyone has a different.
Everybody has
dating
different
dictionary. Yeah.
Exactly. And the dating dictionary in our language is so unique that when you say something and you're like, duh, it's obvious. Everybody thinks if I say exclusive, I'm not seeing other people, then I'm only seeing you, therefore you are my girlfriend. And you're like, but you didn't say, do you want to be my girlfriend? And he's
Right.
like, did I have to say that? I said that.
Like he had never introduced me as his girlfriend. Like he had never referred to him as my boyfriend. So in my mind,
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
go to a party and you're like, hey, this is Alana.
this is the guy I'm exclusive with. What?
I mean, I guess I don't like remember introducing you and not saying you weren't my girlfriend.
But you never.
I probably would have.
Well, you weren't gonna introduce
Well,
me.
you're
It's
not
like,
like
this is
this-
Alana. She's not my girlfriend.
But you didn't say, this is Alana, this is my friend.
No.
So how were you introduced?
Probably just this is Alana, which is fine. But I think dating is so complicated that like you just have to be on the same page. Like if
Yeah.
he had said like I'm not seeing other people, like I want you to be my girlfriend, like okay, then I would have understood.
Right.
I think it's just that you have to over communicate in this day and age in dating in order for both of you to understand what page you're on.
Either clearly communicate or over communicate. I don't know. Over communicate scares me a little bit.
Fair. Clearly communicate.
Clearly communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And,
So
and
we're on
I
the same
could have
page.
said like, oh, like
Oh,
okay, what
exclusive.
is-
You mean boyfriend
right,
and
like what
girlfriend.
does exclusive mean to you?
Right. That definition, that goes back to like dating definitions,
Mm-hmm.
right? What does exclusive mean to you? Like, cool, let's be exclusive. Okay, what does that mean?
Right.
Right? I love that.
Yeah. And listen,
I feel like guys would still be like,
we're not seeing
I'm not seeing anybody else.
I'm not seeing anybody else. I'm not seeing other people. I'm only seeing you. I don't know. What else should it mean? You define it.
right. Like there really isn't on paper. There's not a difference.
Right.
But I feel like we're in a relationship holds more weight than we're just not going out with, talking to, hooking up with other people.
Okay.
In my mind.
Listen,
That's
hey,
my mind.
you're also a dating expert. So
Right.
like and you're most recently from a dating relationship experience where I'm very far from that. I only experience it through other people now. We've been married 22 years. And
Amazing. What's
yeah.
your secret? What advice do you have for us?
Oh, that's
What
such
do you
a
wish
good
you could
question.
tell yourself 6 months and 1 week into your marriage?
Oh, so I think in the beginning, there was nothing wrong with my marriage. Like I was broken, so to speak, right? Like I didn't know how to healthfully be in a relationship and like how to go from me to we. It was like, what's happening? So I was still living at home. I had traveled, I had come back, I was like readjusting, and then we met, and then we got married, and I was like, and I moved from like my family's house to, being together with my husband, and then I was like, okay, what do we do now? And we worked together a lot, and we saw each other a lot. So it wasn't like everybody leaves the house and like you come home and you see each other. It was like you could have breakfast together, you could have lunch together, you could have
0 to
like
100.
like we're always together all the time. And I feel like for me, I was very happy because that's my, natural disposition. But then like, I feel like I cried a lot, like through the adjustment of like, what is this? Like, why is this happening like this? And just like trying to get my feel, like my boundaries and figure out what works in a relationship. But after I got that, I think the thing that we need is, first of all, don't take everything so seriously. Like life is intense enough. Like you say something and it's like, well, you said something. You're like, no, but that's not, did I say that? But like, not what I meant. Like, what's the definition, right? So you say exclusive and she's like, exclusive, am I your girlfriend? Like what's it, right? But like, don't get stuck on those dictionary definitions. Like, I think try to figure out what's the meaning behind it. And like you said, ask about it. And I think curiosity and a lot of humor, play, banter, like elevate it. The world is really heavy right now. So like as much as that we can lift each other up, feel good, laugh, have those moments. Those are some of my favorite. And you guys talk about these date cards and date days, which I love. I always talk to people about not just date nights, but date days. So you're totally, but you one-upped me. Like you really like, we're not that we're not that organized. Sometimes it's a little more spontaneous or a plan, but like not like 5 things on the plan, like 2. So I love that. But we also do double date nights. So after you've had like dozens of dates and years of dates and you're like, this is great. And we're like date, but like we need something to spice it up. I would add in there double date nights. So this is kind of like you get to like date all over again, but as couples. Okay. So you guys are like, hey, I want to go out with my buddy and his wife. And you're like, okay, cool. Who is that? And he's like, oh, from work. Blah. You're like, yeah. Do we like them? I don't know. We're about to find out.
Yeah. We're big on double dates. I mean, so far it's really been within like our circle of friends. We've gotten to know our friends and their significant others very well. But yeah, I mean, this Friday we have a double date with our friend Sammy and her boyfriend Ben. And on Saturday we're going to see my best friend from college and her husband and their baby. For dinner. So yeah, we love double dates.
Yeah. So they're great. And we have shtick. Oh, that's the other thing, shtick. We're very playful with things. So like we need to have things that are like fun. I'm going to say playful. So we bring napkins with us, like nice cloth napkins, but like, like the picnic napkins, like checkered and so like that. But we have red and green and blue and all different colors. And we bring 4 and we have it in our little picnic date night bag and we schlep it with us to every restaurant.
Really?
Yeah, because not all it's like you're not always going out to a fancy restaurant and like we're like paper napkins, like it's just not enough. And like we like that there's a little shtick, so we bring it and we like lay it on the table when the couples come. If they don't know us and they don't know the shtick, like at the end we're like collecting the napkins. They're like, "What are you doing? You're taking them?" And we're like, "No, we brought them. You arrived after us. We set the table." And they're like, "What?"
Oh my god!
We're like, we love it. Like we want to just have like a more like when we go out to eat, we want to go out to eat and feel like it's nice, and we're not always going out to fine dining restaurants. So we bring our BYON, bring your own napkin.
So funny. I love that.
One day you're going to see like the double date night napkins. 4, you get 4 in a pack.
There's a big brand potential there. I love it.
Yeah, I think that most of it is keeping it alive and upbeat and humor and play and banter. And I think you guys have that. Like, I think you can teach us lessons. But, you all like kids will change things a little bit. And life changes as people grow. And like we get a little bit into a routine. But to honor the routines also. Like I love that like there's like a regularity to who we are and or what we do that also helps to set the tone. So that you just have consistency. You're like, oh, he always comes home at da-da-da time. Like, and this is our routine. Like there's a nice thing to like date days and spontaneous and flying randomly somewhere. And then like the consistency of life, it's really healthy to have some things that are like set in your schedule that you can always count on.
I think whenever we like go away for too long or do something off script for too long, we're like, we need to go home and just like sit with Barkley and watch TV and get back to some sort of routine for sure.
Yeah, and we love we play a lot of games. We love Rummy Cube. We love different card games. Like we always try and break up instead of just like sitting on the couch watching TV every night. Like we'll do that, but we'll also like play Rummy Cube or play a certain game. Just to, have that as like something else that's more engaging and like relaxing and fun.
If you each had to give advice, if you're giving advice to women and you would give advice to men through the dating process, if somebody goes, wow, this is a phenomenal couple. They're young. They have a great time together. Clearly they have a healthy, beautiful relationship. I want something like that. What's some advice that you could give people so that they can imagine how to go from where they are to being in a healthy relationship like this?
Don't look for the person that you feel like you have to impress. Look for the person that you feel like you can be yourself with.
Right. Pajamas, couch, watching movies, hanging out for hours.
Totally. I think this, I dated a lot before I met Jake, and more often than not, I was trying to like win somebody over, or feeling like I had to be so cool and so chill and like really that like they were the prize I had to win. And like, Jake, you're a prize, no offense, but like I just felt like this is somebody I'm so comfortable with and who like I don't feel like I have to put on a show for. And that I still feel that way. Like I want to, of course, be my best self, but I also consistently just feel so safe and comfortable.
Beautiful.
I would say don't take it so seriously. And like, I think a lot of people date now with so much pressure over what time they're dating at, like what their friends are doing, things like that. And pressure just compounds and people really like lose themselves in it, right? They feel more stressed. They get into relationships they shouldn't, I feel like. And myself too. I think I felt a lot of pressure at different times to date in certain ways or to try to find a relationship to like appease your parents or your friends are all dating, your friends are all getting married. And we see it all the time with our friends or family when they feel like it's time to do it, they just put so much pressure on it. It doesn't really allow the relationships to blossom. And I think when we met each other, you're right, like the time we met was really important to making our relationship work with each other.
I will say, I remember when I met him, finding out that his 4 roommates were all in serious relationships and his brother was in a serious relationship. And I was like, this guy's surrounded by relationships. He definitely doesn't want to be the only single one anymore. This is so great for Alana.
Find a guy who has friends and family who are surrounded by relationships and married people. Yeah. That's it. He's going to be highly motivated.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really the best. Yeah. I remember back to dating, and I remember like one dating, I'll call it a dating disaster story, and I'll give you time to think if you guys have any, no names, obviously, but dating disaster stories. By me, I'm like, I made a mistake. I got in a car with a guy to go to a restaurant, whatever. I've never been in a car with a worse driver. Oh no! So, like you still want to be polite, even if somebody's a bad driver. But I'm literally holding on, and I'm like, please God, if you save me from this, if I don't die, whatever you want, you can have from me. And then I'm like, okay, I have a new prayer. Please help us to get pulled over by the police. I just want to get out of the car, make him stop the car, right? And we get to the restaurant and the whole thing, and then I was like, oh gosh, maybe I don't have to get back in the car to go home. Right? Like, I'm good. I'll call an Uber. Bye.
Oh
it was
my God,
the worst experience.
Rough.
Yeah. Like, and you wouldn't tell from talking. Sometimes you meet people and they're like a little bit, sporadic and just too much with their energy. And you're like, probably they're a bad driver, right? No, there were no clues. He was like chill, calm. Everything was fine. You would like never know. And I was like, praying for my life.
I'm so tense and like stressed right now thinking about that. I'm picturing us in Santorini on our honeymoon.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm not okay with like horrible drivers. I get so scared.
By the way, that was one of my dating criteria. I don't think it was at the forefront of my mind and it wasn't on my top 10 list, but it was in my mind. He needs to be a good driver.
So fair.
Because, right? Right. I can't be driving.
You're going to spend a lot of miles with that person and your kids, precious cargo. Like you want to feel safe.
Exactly. Right. And my husband is an excellent driver.
Great. Love that for you.
Right.
Thrilled to hear it.
Yeah. Dating disasters, anything that you're like, oh, what a story.
Wait, what's the one? I remember I said something like, why don't you say that as your bad date one? Do you remember what it was?
I have no idea.
Was it the bad kisser one?
Bad kisser? I don't have a bad kisser.
Okay, I'll do this. So I went on this great first date with this guy, and it was like one of those like, oh my God, I felt like I knew him my entire life. And
by the way, those are always like fireworks, crash and burn.
Totally.
For me, it's a total red flag when it's like the best ever. Like sometimes 1% of the time it could be your person, but the rest it's bad.
I completely agree. So end of the date, I'm waiting for my Uber. We're at the corner and like he leans in to kiss me and it is like the worst kiss I've ever had. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Like I'm going to chalk this up to like awkward street corner, like waiting for my Uber, like kind of looking up to see if it's coming. Like that's okay. Like totally fine. The date was great. I'm going to like not think about that. So second date comes and again, like amazing dinner, amazing conversation, like amazing emotional connection. And we go back to his apartment. We're like sitting on his bed and like he starts to kiss me and I'm like, this is horrible. Like this is so, I didn't know a kiss like could be so. I feel like such an asshole.
You passed the test.
And so I like go home and I'm Googling like how do I like train somebody to be a better kisser? Like,
Okay.
what do I do
You're
this?
highly motivated at this
So
point.
I really like this guy. And we're planning our third date, and I am looking on a map to see where his apartment is and where my apartment is, and where we could go that was equidistant, far enough from both of our apartments that we wouldn't try and go back to either of our places after, because I just like didn't want to kiss this guy again. And at that moment I was like, this is not fair. Like this isn't okay. And I texted him that like anti-ghosting, like I feel like we're better as friends text. And this is the saddest part. I had talked to a mutual friend of ours who I told her I was going out with him in the beginning, and she was like, he's so nice, he's so great. I told her what happened, and she was like, I didn't know how to tell you, but I made out with him freshman year of college. And I had the
He
same
hasn't improved since then.
And oh my God, the nicest guy. And you know, like, listen, I think he like, found someone, and I think he's like married now. Like maybe I was the bad kisser in the situation, and our kissing styles just weren't compatible. Right. I don't know. But yeah, once I was Googling and looking at that map, I'm like, this has gotta end.
That's funny. Yeah. I don't know if I have a bad dating story. I have a bad kissing story too, though.
Oh, really? With me?
Not with you.
You've kissed other people?
This was the first time.
Seeing other people, kissing other people.
First time I ever like hooked up was, the story.
Yeah. Wait, do I?
Yeah. So I was at sleepaway camp, Jewish sleepaway camp, Trails End. And at camp, it was like really awkward, right? You were supposed to like go behind the house and like make out with somebody. And it would be like kind of set up by
this
your
was
friends.
like your buddies had like a whole thing.
They're
like, oh, watch out.
But
you guys
how
go
old
back
were you?
there.
Preface this.
Sophomore or freshman in high school, one of those two. I actually remember.
Okay, teens.
Yeah, so you weren't like 10.
No. And so people would be like, this person wants to make out with you behind the house. And you'd be like, do I do it or do you not?
Your friends are already matchmaking.
Yeah, total like matchmaking happening in camp. It's like the most.
Right, the yentas. Okay, good, I'm in.
And so anyway, they're like, this person wants to make out with you. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so I was talking to my friend the night before. I was like, wow, I've never done it. What do I do? And he's like, okay, if the situation comes up, just do this. And I was like, okay. And so
I know. I want to know what's
we get to the point of the story.
Okay.
Storytelling. So what happens is you get into like a group of circle, and it's like me, the girl, a few other people, and then everyone's like 3, 2, 1. Everyone just like runs away. So now just me and the girl. And so you're like, okay, do you want to go behind the house? And then you like walk together behind the house. You like sit on a bench that's like there for like teens making out. Like, swear to God, this is like this is sleepaway camp for sure. And so it's me and this girl, and it was so awkward, like the most awkward. And so I think back to what the guy said the night before, and we're sitting there. And
I know where this is going.
The advice was, if you were a pirate, would you rather have your parrot on this shoulder or this shoulder? And then we made out. And that's how I had my first make out.
So you're right. I know this story. He told me this story on our second date.
It's a great story. People like the story.
We didn't kiss on our first date. And our second date is coming to an end, and he hasn't kissed me. He's ordered his Uber to go home.
Yeah, life really comes full circle, huh?
Yeah, he ordered his Uber to go home. We still haven't kissed. I'm like, I'm about to go away. Like, we're not going to see each other for weeks. He hasn't kissed me. So I go, wait, before you go, I have a question. And this was our first kiss. I go, if you were a pirate, would you want your parrot on this shoulder or this shoulder? And I made the move based on his story, and that was our first kiss.
Yeah, that's wild.
Oh my God.
You gotta make like a TikTok about that or something.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
You used his move on him.
Yeah.
I love it. It really comes full circle.
That was your first kiss and your first kiss with your wife.
Yeah. My first kiss and my
and
last
first
kiss.
kiss. Yeah. My last first kiss.
Wow. You're right.
I feel like we have so many lines here.
Yeah, that's wild.
So many lines for like a good show, a good movie. My first kiss and my first last.
Yeah.
That's good. It's been such a pleasure having you. You guys are really just.
I don't want this to
I know you're like such an inspirational couple. I think that so many people should look at the joy that you have, and I want people to feel a lacking. I want people to feel jealous and go, but I want a beautiful relationship like that, and I want to make the effort to find it, and I'm just going to go look in the whole world, and I'm going to see there is potential. There's somebody out there. This is like the blueprint of creation is that your human is here. They're here. And you get to pick them, and you go through the whole world, and you keep looking until you actually find them, and then you make a decision, and you pick them, and you make it happen, and then you celebrate your 6-month anniversary. And thank you for celebrating your 6-month anniversary with us.
Thank you.
And we are so happy for you. We wish you many more happy, healthy years together. And I want to have you back because I want to see how you grow together. And I want to hear like the middle of the story, right? And I want to hear even more of the middle. And I want to watch you guys as you grow because you're such an inspiration.
Thank you. And you're so amazing. I'm so glad we got to do this. And every single conversation with you, I walk away being like, she's incredible.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who's watching. Elisa Ben Shalom. Matchmaker, find me a love that lasts. It's a podcast. It's a book. It's a life philosophy. And I hope you'll join us and tune in again for some more great content.